This is the true story of Molly McLaren, a much-loved and driven young woman, someone that was building the brightest of futures, having already overcome so much. So when a whirlwind Tinder romance fell apart, why did Molly feel like she was being watched in her every move? And what would become of Molly? Viewer discretion is advised for this educational documentary. Welcome back to CASE Documentaries. I bring you true crime, disturbing stories and other things that you may later regret knowing with regular uploads every week. Please do join the quickly growing, incredibly supportive CASE family by hitting subscribe now and turning on notifications. Remember, choosing to be kind can save a life in many ways. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me. Our love and respect goes out to those that knew and loved Molly and all those affected by this case. Molly McLaren was a 23-year-old student at the University of Kent. Surrounded by friends and family, Molly had a support system that was setting her up for the brightest of futures. She was making amazing grades and gaining significant popularity on social media. All of this was working towards securing her career as a personal trainer and fitness influencer. Although she had struggled as a teenager with an eating disorder and anxiety issues, she had worked hard to overcome them and prioritize her own health both mentally and physically. Molly desired to be an encouraging influence in the lives of anyone going through what she had once endured. She wanted to reach the lives of people that felt exactly the way that she did, educating them, bringing awareness and providing resources for those struggling with eating disorders. Her friends and family described Molly as a ball of positivity, fun and kindness, spreading an infectious light to everyone she came into contact with. This case takes place in Kent, a popular tourist destination and one of the top 10 wealthiest counties in the UK. Because of its beautiful fields and orchards, Kent is lovingly referred to as the Garden of England. As a student, Molly was active on Tinder, probably the most well-known dating application. Popular among mainly single people, it's a fast and easy way to meet new people. Molly had used the app numerous times before, but had never yielded a relationship that lasted longer than 6 months. In July of 2016, this trend in Molly's dating life would change. She was swiping left and right on Tinder, until that is, she came across a man named Joshua Stimpson, a 25-year-old warehouse worker with striking eyes. They began talking immediately, quickly getting into the intimate details of their own lives. Joshua had shared his own struggles with mental health throughout his life, revealing to Molly that he had bipolar disorder. Molly was able to resonate with Joshua's struggles. She detailed her own issues with anxiety and disordered eating. Molly saw the pain that Joshua had gone through, feeling the pull to support him through his anxieties. After all, her calling in life was to help people who struggled like she did, and the attraction between the two was too difficult to ignore. Molly told Joshua to pretend that they'd been talking for longer than just a few days. She felt like she had known him for a lifetime. After spending months talking non-stop, they finally had their first date in November of that year. By that point, they were already so infatuated with each other that meeting face-to-face made their passion for each other ignite into flames. Molly introduced Joshua to her parents, and her mother was a little apprehensive towards him. The fact that he had bipolar disorder scared her. She didn't want her daughter to be brought back into the dark place that she once was. Nevertheless, she supported Molly in her decisions, knowing that she was an adult who was capable of a mature relationship. The two couldn't go more than a couple of days without seeing each other. That is, until the honeymoon phase of their relationship came to an end. It was time, at least in part, to go back to reality, and Molly wanted to live her life with Joshua as an important part of it. Unfortunately, Joshua didn't have the same vision of their budding romance. As the weeks went on, Joshua became increasingly more controlling, always wanting to know where Molly was, where she was going, and what she was doing. He was now obsessed. He would ask to come over and see her every single day. He even quit his job at the warehouse to spend as much time as he could around his beloved. Even when Molly was busy with homework and told Joshua that she couldn't see him, he would come over anyway, leaving Molly frustrated with where their relationship was headed. She had finally escaped the control that her mental health and eating disorder had over her life, all to be controlled once again, but this time by a man. On the other hand, Molly knew that Joshua's mental state was fragile. She couldn't bring herself to end things with him despite the turbulence that she was feeling inside. By April of 2017, the relationship had taken a huge downturn. Molly had found out that Joshua was taking photos and videos of her without her knowledge. This left her feeling violated and completely out of control of her own body. She didn't know what to do anymore. She asked her mum for advice. Her mother later recalled the situation, saying that Joshua remained cool as a cucumber during the whole ordeal. He felt no remorse for taking these photos and videos, and he didn't even believe that he did anything wrong in the first place. By June of 2017, Molly was exhausted. She couldn't take any more of the countless arguments, lack of trust and insecurities on the part of Joshua. This was supposed to be a relationship, and it was turning more into a prison sentence. She finally broke the news at a belated birthday celebration. She told Joshua that they could no longer be together. He didn't take it well at all. He cried and screamed, turning the heads of Molly's friends in the middle of a birthday party. Despite the messiness of it all, Molly was relieved to be rid of the man that was watching her every move. But unfortunately and predictably, it didn't stop there. It was only a matter of time before the photos and videos that Joshua had taken of Molly were weaponized against her. He took to social media to post the content that he had taken of her, labeling her as an illicit substance user and as an all-round awful person. It was devastating that it had come to this, but with the support of her family, Molly knew what she had to do. She gathered all the posts that Joshua had made about her and brought them to the Kent police. The tactic and response of the Kent police was to scare Joshua into leaving Molly alone. They called him on speaker and attempted to intimidate him, asking, "We wouldn't want Molly to come to the police station again about you, would we?" The alarming response they heard from Joshua through the loudspeaker was, "Wouldn't we?" Joshua aggressively asserted that he had done nothing wrong, saying that if what he was doing was wrong, they could be assured that there was more to come. Fortunately, the police called later and told Molly and her family that Joshua had agreed to take the posts down. He was afraid about what the bosses at his new job would think about his social media slander campaign. Molly felt that she could relax, hoping that the nightmare was finally over. Trying to get back into her regular routine, she visited the Ship and Trades pub with some friends. It was a night to celebrate her enrollment into a personal training course. But to Molly and her friend's surprise, a familiar face walked through the door with a girl on his arm, none other than Joshua Stimpson. He had walked by Molly and her girlfriends with his new date, with Molly rolling her eyes and calling him a creep. The group pondered how Joshua would even know that they were at a pub in the first place, but they quickly realized that they had posted about it on social media just hours before. Was Joshua stalking Molly? Molly's friends recalled seeing him walk by without his date, and seeing him standing in the smoking area to watch them. But Joshua didn't even smoke. The group was able to leave safely and without issue, and Molly shook off the otherwise unsettling situation. Sometimes breakups are just messy and people can be immature. On the morning of June the 29th, Molly continued to try and return to her normal single life. She arrived at her local gym at 10 a.m, ready to begin her day with a workout. It wasn't long before Joshua was caught on CCTV footage following her into the facility, walking to work out next to her in the otherwise empty room. Molly immediately texted her mother, letting her know that Joshua had shown up to the gym, and that she was there alone with him. Molly's mother responded by calling her in urgency, telling her to leave the gym without looking back. As Molly packed her stuff and briskly walked to her car, she sent a text to her friends relaying this same information, complaining about how she felt she always now had to look over her shoulder. But this would sadly be the last text that Molly would send. The Kent police arrived at the plaza where the gym was situated, and what they found was like a scene from a horror movie. Numerous bystanders had witnessed a vicious attack on Molly, her driver's side door being ripped open, and her body being inflicted with 75 wounds made by a sharp implement. Benjamin Morton was the man that had called the police, valiantly attempting to stop the attacker and block him from leaving the scene. He had slammed the attacker's leg in the car door, and he attempted to pull him away from Molly. But the assailant's fit of rage would not be interrupted. When the police surveyed the scene, the attacker strangely approached them almost immediately. Wiping the red spatter from his face, he calmly looked at the officers and said, "You want me." To the officers' horror, the assailant was the subject of their phone call earlier that month. It was, of course, Joshua Stimpson. Hero Morton had tried to revive Molly from the gruesome attack, but it was without success. Molly's life was pronounced to have officially ended at 11:43 a.m. the cause of which being trauma to the neck. The arrest and interrogation of Joshua required little effort on the part of the police. Joshua had admitted to the acts that he had committed, saying that although he ended Molly's life, it was not premeditated. According to Joshua, he had been so overtaken with rejection that he had to end his pain in the only way that he knew how, by taking revenge and taking Molly's life. Joshua would stand firm on his statement as his trial began in early 2018. His defense team asserted that Joshua couldn't control the pain of Molly's rejection. This was due to his mental health issues. They claimed that Joshua had been heavily affected by the divorce of his parents and the subsequent abandonment by his mother. He frequently visited mental health clinics throughout his life, attempting to deal with his extreme hypersensitivity to rejection, and, according to the defense, a personality disorder. For these reasons, Joshua didn't have the mental capabilities to premeditate his attack on Molly. His acts were outside any type of normal cognitive function. But for the prosecution, this couldn't be further from the truth. If Joshua's attack wasn't premeditated, then he wouldn't have been seen on CCTV purchasing a sharp implement just days before. This same implement would be used to take Molly's life. Further than this, if Joshua was so overtaken with the pain of rejection, why did he wait weeks to commit this awful deed? Nothing about this assault seemed to result from a lack of control, nor did it seem purely impulsive. However, the defense's assertion about Josh's mental state was still an important thing to consider. Because of this, the prosecution welcomed a psychiatrist who evaluated Joshua to testify to his condition. But according to him, there was no evidence of Joshua having a personality disorder or any mental defect. Instead of that, the psychiatrist did suggest that Joshua had traits of narcissism, having absolutely no remorse for the crimes that he had committed. By the time the closing arguments rolled around, it was unclear which side had the advantage. Molly's mother and family members must have been struck with anxiety. After only 3 hours of deliberation, the jury had made their choice. Molly's family and friends breathed a sigh of relief. The jury declared that Joshua Stimpson was guilty of a premeditated, vicious attack on their beloved girl. At his sentencing, Judge Adele Williams had some choice words to say as she committed him to a minimum of 26 years in prison for his crimes. She detailed how Stimpson was a highly dangerous man, believing that women would be in danger if he were free to walk the streets. She hoped that he would never be released for the things that he had done to Molly, to her family, and to her future. Molly's family released an official statement thanking the bystanders of the assault for their brave efforts in saving Molly's life. Regarding the proceedings, they said, "The verdict has brought us a small measure of comfort, but it seems that nothing will take away the pain, or allow us to come to terms with our Molly being taken away from us. We are serving a lifetime of pain, anguish, and loss. A light has gone out in all of our hearts, but shines bright as a star forever glowing." Following the trial, the Molly McLaren Foundation was launched by Molly's family. This is an organisation that would continue the dreams that Molly had for her life that ended too soon. The foundation holds a huge event every year, full of games, food and fun, raising money for and bringing awareness towards charities that seek to reach people who struggle with eating disorders. Since its establishment, they have raised over £30,000, all in support of Molly's goals for positivity, confidence, and change, turning the most horrifying events into a beacon of light for the world. Do you think the punishment fits the crime here? What do you think could be done to avoid something like this happening again in the future? Let me know down in the comments. Please do hit like if you appreciate what I'm doing here. Thank you to everyone in the Dark Case crew. You too can become a channel member for just 99 pence. A huge thank you to my patrons. Your support makes a massive difference. You too can support my work and be thanked in every video for just $5 per month. So thank you to Rachel David, Kathy Green, David James, Addy Alexander, Karen Jones, El Palmieri, James Harrington, Shane Woodward, Faster River, Stacey Krogerus, Summer Chambers, Mona Corona, Seffield Variable, Anthony Watson, Jason Coward, Guardian Paler, Jeremy Sebranek, Joy Burton, Dawn Crock, Michelle Mims, Natalie Lundquist, Anita Ford, Christina Garzon, Anita Parkins, and Darlene. Be careful out there, and I'll see you soon.